Welcome, everyone, to Ideate Software's presentation of improving productivity and efficiency for all Revit users with IdeateApps. My name is Richard Taylor with Ideate Software, and again, joining me is Sash Kazaminajad, who's going to be helping with the question panel. So my background, like as I said, is architecture. I have over 20 years of Revit experience, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the original employees at Revit Technology Corporation before Autodesk purchased it back in 2002. And then I worked at Autodesk as one of the Revit product managers for about 12 years. And then I've been working for Ideate Software for a little over 5 years. And you can always feel free to contact me at the email below, or you can follow me on Twitter, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me on Facebook. I have a special Facebook page that's non-personal. It's just for my work and for Ideate Software. So feel free to connect with me if you have any additional questions or you just feel like connecting. So Ideate Software is all about simplifying your Revit data challenges. We create 5 add-on solutions for Revit. And you'll see there at the bottom of the screen, Ideate BIMlink, Ideate Explorer, Ideate Sticky, IdeateApps, and Ideate Style Manager. And today, specifically, we're going to be focusing on IdeateApps. And in fact, IdeateApps is one product, but it's a collection of 9 productivity and efficiency tools for all Revit users. And in fact, I have this link here. This was a return on investment, an ROI that was done by a customer of ours a few months ago. So if I click on this, you're going to see that that should access the website in just a moment. And you'll see that there's this blog. So if you want to go to our blogs, it was on March 12th, or you can also search under our blog for IdeateApps. And this customer, Steinberg Hart, did a great little scenario. I'm going to click on this image, which then makes it larger. It goes through each of the 9 tools in IdeateApps. It talks about how much time they were spending, how much time that they saved by using IdeateApps, and just some notes and who uses it. So really nice little return on investment for IdeateApps. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. So Ideate Software, we're very proud of our outstanding support and reputation. So I'm going to show a case today that we have both in-product help. So that means the help when you go, within the product, there's some getting started guides, there's information in the dialogue, but then we can link out to how-to topics, frequently asked questions, and that's going to connect to our website. And we're constantly updating our website with additional information, with workflows. So again, I encourage you to review and look at that information. We have great technical support. As I mentioned, we have the getting started guides. We are supporting the last 4 releases of Revit. So everything you see today is available for Revit 2018, 19, 20, and 21. Now, we do have versions that go back beyond that, but the latest updates that we just did in May of 2020 are available on the last 4 releases of Revit. And you're going to see that I have a lot of sample content. So for instance, when I'm renumbering information, I'm going to have rules. When I'm creating views, I have rules that are already generated for me. If you're familiar with our Ideate BIM link, we have about 350 link definitions that are included. So we give you a lot of information to get up and running very quickly. Okay, so we are here to talk about IdeateApps. And as I mentioned, IdeateApps is a collection of 9 focus-driven tools that are available and sort of designed for every Revit user. So it doesn't matter if you're a brand new to Revit or if you're a 20-year veteran, these tools are going to help you with your workflow. And so we're going to go through and talk about these 9 tools. And you'll notice that on the menu bar, there are 4 tools that are in orange: the renumber, quick select, smart delete, X-ray, and spell check. So I'm going to talk about those 4 first, then we're going to take a break and I'll answer some questions. And then we're going to talk about the blue tools, which are the sheet manager, the align, the clone, and the view creator. And those kind of all are a collection of our sheet and view tools. So that's why we've kind of organized those in a different color. Okay, so the first tool is called Ideate Renumber. And the reason that we developed this is just that it's hard to go back after you've selected an element or maybe numbered or given an identifier to some element to go back and redo that again in the proper sequence. And not only can we push values to a mark property or a tag, which is typically what we're doing, but we can push it to any text-based parameter. So it could be a shared parameter or like I said, any system text-based parameter. And we're giving you rules to be able to customize this and do this very easily. So on each of these, I'm just going to show a couple examples, and just to kind of sort of set the stage here is that each one of these tools, I believe we have a full webinar, a half-hour presentation on renumbering. Actually, we have several. And we have several on, for instance, X-ray, as well as spell check. So if you want a deeper dive on any of these tools, I would encourage you to look at our website and review the webinars and the presentations that we have that are focused on these particular tools. So I'm going to switch over here to Revit, and today I'm using Revit 2021, the latest release, but again, we are supporting 2018, 19, 20, and 21. So you're familiar with our lovely ribbon tabs, you know, architecture, systems, structure, and so forth. When you install any one of the Ideate software solutions or applications, you're going to get the Ideate software ribbon tab. And you'll notice I have all of them installed: BIMLink, Explorer, Sticky, Style Manager. It's kind of hard to see probably on GoTo, but there's a very light vertical line between Style Manager and Renumber, and basically everything to the right of Renumber is part of IdeateApps. So like I said, when you install that one solution, you get these 9 tools. So let's say my task at hand is to renumber some of these rooms, right? Maybe I did this in error, or initially they're all at 100, or maybe I copied this, and so I want them all to be, let's say, 500. So I'm going to go to my renumber tool, and renumber looks at, you know, it says retrieving rules. It looks at the context sensitivity or contextually of what's available in this, this view, as well as what rules are loaded. So right now it's saying, well, in this view, based on the rules that you have loaded in this project, you only have the availability to renumber doors, rooms, and curtain panels. So it's not giving you, as an example, if I go over here, I have viewports. Well, there are no viewports in this view, or I'm not on a sheet, so it's not giving me that as a selection. So what's nice is if you have several hundred rules, it's going to give you just those ones that make sense. So if I'm going to switch this over here to rooms, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm just going to say 500 here as the room. And the easiest thing is just to select elements, right? Start numbering. So I can come over here and say, well, there's 500, there's 501, 502, 503, and keep going, right? Simple, hit escape, and you're done. But a more flexible, maybe a more powerful way is to select a path. So what I'm going to do is select a path crossing, and I'll explain that in a moment. It means I'm crossing or overlapping items. So I'm going to create a new path. I'm going to start numbering. I'm going to start in this vestibule here. And basically, notice how I cross over the corridor. Like I'm not clicking in the corridor, but because I have that crossing, it's going to be picked up as a renumber field. And again, I can come over here to the classroom, and I can make a particular item. Now, this is just a detail line, so there's nothing special about it. I can add to it. I can modify it very easily. When I hit the escape, notice that now it gives me all the rooms in the proper sequence. Now, this first room, notice that it's white in the dialog because it says, well, it didn't change. Remember, I already did it as 500, and now this new one is 500. All the other ones have been updated, and that's why they're green. It just shows you that there's a change that has been made. If, for instance, this corridor 116, I don't care about it, I can skip that over, or skip over it. So I'm going to just say element is ignored, and then it just jumps right over from 14 to 15. I can also reverse the direction very easily. So I have this sort of manipulation, right? I can zoom to elements and review things before I actually initiate the renumber. Well, if I say, you know what, I love it, I'm going to accept the changes, now you'll notice that everything has been renumbered, and you've got 502, 503, 504, and so forth. And, you know, it's pretty simple. With the vertex method, I would have just picked up those things the rooms I actually clicked in, like in this case, 500, 502, 505. It wouldn't have got all these other ones that overlapped. So those are the difference when you're doing a path. You have the overlap, or you have the vertex method. So let's go back over here to renumber. And now that I have the rooms in the correct sequence, or in a sequence that I want to switch this over here to doors. And so it's going to say that I want the increment to be A, that's fine. And I can, again, select elements, or in this case, I can specify that I want to auto number by view. So in this case, let's say auto number by view, start numbering. And then it gives me basically the from room and to room conditions, right? And a lot of these, maybe I just want to shift here and I say, you know what, I want to have the other condition. So not the to room, but the from room, right? And I can do that singly. I'm actually changing that in the database, from room or to room, or I can come over here and shift and say, you know what, I want to report on the other opposite values if I so desire. Or I can say that I want to skip those elements as an example, just ignore them. So again, I have a lot of interaction here in the dialog before renumbering those. And so I can accept the changes, and it's going to then renumber all of those. And so I'll give you an example. You know, here's the corridor 504. You can see this, here's 504A, B, well, actually A is right down here. So you can see, so it numbered those. Hey, you, I'm trying to move that tag. So there's 504A, B, and C. And again, it depends on whether it's the from room or to room, but again, you can easily modify that, right? And then just to give you a kind of a hint back into the secret sauce here, let's go back to Ideate software and just go to our renumber. And all of these rules are completely customizable. And I don't have a lot of time to show you all of the ways that you can customize, but if you click here, you can edit and you can see the formula. So in this case, we were getting the room number directly from the Revit parameter. We were adding a dash and then an A, B, C, right? But if you wanted to add like a field as an example, you could say, well, I want to add a different field to this, like maybe I'm going to come down here and just say, let's say the width or something. And I'd give it a little name like WD and say, now I'm adding that as part of the formula. All right. So I can continue adding those things. And again, I can push this into not only the mark parameter, but any text-based parameter that I want. So I have basically, you see here, a target parameter of where am I pushing this into. And then for these fields, in this case, if I double click, notice that I have an increment. I can start with A, I can start with 1, 2, 3. And if I say, well, you know what, I want to start with 1 and I want to have it be, I don't know, every 5. That was something that we've done recently, is this increment size that allows you to do even or odd numbers by specifying a particular increment. So again, lots of cool things that you can do with the formula. I'm not going to save this, just to give you kind of a background as to how you would modify those rules. Okay, let's switch back over here. And let's look at Ideate Quick Select. Now, Ideate Quick Select is an application that we've included into IdeateApps that allows you to understand every single element within your model or your project. And those of you that are familiar with some of our other applications, you may look at that and say, that looks kind of like Ideate Explorer. Well, it actually is a light version of Ideate Explorer. And you may say to yourself, hey, Richard, well, what's the difference between Ideate Explorer and Ideate Quick Select? And here's where I'm going to show you an example of using Google. You can say Ideate Quick Select. You can see I've already had this in here versus Ideate Explorer. And so our help system is set up very nicely with Google. You can just search for things. And this is great because this will come down and just basically say, well, what's available in Quick Select and what's available in Ideate Explorer. And obviously, Explorer has a lot of other nice tools for filters, for reviewing Revit warnings, for doing query. But you can see the basic is available with Ideate Quick Select. So that's just another example of showing our help system here. So how do we work this? Well, let's go over here to Quick Select. And this is going to come up with basically my current selection, because I did have something selected here, which is fine. And selection means that I've got, right, one item selected, which was that door tag. If you remember, I was trying to move it. But I'm going to switch this over here to the entire project. And so now I'm going to look at all of the elements. So I've got 36,000 elements, right? And maybe I want to search for something, you know, if I say none here, let's go to schedule. I want to look at those items that are schedules. So it's not only looking at legends, right, but it's giving me schedule graphics, which are the schedules on a sheet. It's giving me the actual schedule view itself, and then text notes that have the word schedule in it. So if I look down here, you'll see actually this has the word schedule. So if I wanted to navigate to one of these, like let's say the door hardware schedule that's on a sheet, I can just simply double click and it's going to open up the sheet that contains that door hardware schedule, and you zoom into that. So there you see it, and there's the sheet that has that, right? So a great way to be able to navigate. And this is showing you things that just don't show up in the project browser. A great example is CAD imports or CAD links. So if I come over here, I've got 173 CAD links in this project, and that may be something you might want to chastise me about, but you know, it's just showing you all this information. The first one here, if I double click, it's going to open up the view, which in this case is A8-1 door details. And there's this AutoCAD file for door details. Looks great. Well, I don't know why there's two instances here. So I'm going to double click and it says, hey, it's hidden. So it says, would you like me to open up the view and turn on reveal hidden elements? And then when I open up that view, and then you're going to see it automatically goes into the reveal hidden elements mode. It's the first floor building code, which it seems weird, obviously, right? So there's a number of items that are hidden. And so that obviously was a mistake. Someone maybe copied that door detail AutoCAD file by mistake and then right click, hide in view. So you know what I'm going to do is just highlight on it. We'll get rid of it. And then I can go over here and turn off reveal hidden elements. And I know that there are no hidden CAD files. No, I don't want to save in that view. So let's go ahead and so now I've got a nice clean view. Another great way of using Quick Select is being able to review things like lines. I've got 17,000 detail lines here. I can expand on that, and you'll notice I have a number of lines that probably came in from AutoCAD, right? This 7-809, 51, 48, 9, 47, let's say, and 0. So I've just selected 485 elements. I can now go over here to the line style and say, you know what, I want to move them all to a detail fine. And so it takes all 485 and moves them through the a detail fine line style. And again, now if I expand on that lines, detail lines, I don't have those other crazy numbers. So it's you know, basically classified those the way that I want. So again, you can see just a couple examples of how I can search for items very easily and quickly and use that to select and modify those elements with Ideate Quick Select. Okay, our next tool is called Ideate Smart Delete. And this tool allows you to understand the sort of liability of removing something, right? So it's going to show you all of the dependencies that you may have for a particular element. So if I come back over here and I've got this section, right? And this is a section, but it's a floor element, right? So I'm going to take this concrete floor and I'm going to use the Revit delete. Just get rid of it. It goes away. That's great. Hey, no warnings, no errors, and I should be all set. Well, I'm going to undo that by you doing a Control Z. And I'm going to click on it again, and instead of using the Revit delete, I'm going to use the Ideate Smart Delete. And when I select Smart Delete, it says, well, Richard, you're going to delete 58 or 59, I'm sorry, different dimensions, 2 keynote tags, and 5 edit cut profile regions. So I can look at the dimensions, and you know that the dimensions kind of make sense. I mean, that if you're going to delete an element, the referring dimensions are going to get deleted, but it shows you every single view and the dimension, which is great if you want to review that. But I think what's key is not so much the dimensions, but you may not realize that there was a keynote tag that was associated with this floor. So I can then zoom in and basically double click and say, oh, there's a projection screen, and it was attached to this floor as a keynote. And that keynote is going to go away if I delete this. So that is obviously maybe not what I want to do, or I want to reassign that keynote to something else. So again, a great tool. And then I also wanted to show you that if I deselect here and just actually do a box select on a number of different elements, I'll do this. So I've selected 124 elements. I can then come over to Ideate Smart Delete. And if there are elements that have dependencies, it's going to show you that as a bold text. So it's going to scan through all 124, and you can see that, oh, I've got information here. In fact, I love the fact that it does groups, because I can click over here and it says, oh, well, you've got a group that's a standard office, and it contains one bookshelf, 2 desks, 3 furniture tags, and an extrusion. So it tells you exactly what's in that group that's also going to get deleted. Another nice thing, if I come down here to walls and expand on that and look at, let's say, curtain wall, you'll see that it does, let's say, maybe, they're probably all about the same. Oh, this one's good, because this says, all right, it's going to do not only the curtain wall itself, but the grid, the dimensions, the mullions, the system panels, and a storefront tag. So again, all that's going to get deleted. So you can expand any one of the, or all of these. You can double click to go and review. So if you don't want to delete these curtain walls or these walls, you can untick, right? And say, I don't want to do the 22 walls. I don't want to do the roofs, the plumbing fixtures, or whatever. And then go ahead and delete, or decide that you want to untag them all, or unselect them all. So it gives you the option to review and then decide, do you really want to delete that? So again, you know the liability. So I think this is what's so important, is that you are minimizing your liability by understanding exactly what is going to get removed or deleted by going through and reviewing these elements with Smart Delete. So next is our Ideate spell check. And you might say, well, gee, why do you have spell check? Doesn't Revit have a spell check engine? Well, Revit does, but it's very limited. It only does one view at a time, and it doesn't check a lot of the text. It doesn't check schedules and so forth. So with our spell check, we are able to spell check all open sheets and views and all schedules. So if I come over here to spell check and I start this, you'll notice I'm selected with different methods, right? All open sheets and views, sheets in the sheet list, and for my example here, I'm going to check all schedules. So I'm going to say spell check the selection, and I believe I have 9 schedules here, right? So it's going to go through and it's going to look at all the text that are in schedules, and then say, well, here's a maintenance. Well, that was an abbreviation, and maybe that's okay. So you know what? I'm going to add that to my special dictionary. I'm going to show you where that gets added in just a moment here. So once I add that to the dictionary, I can then continue to move forward, really, and say education director. I'd like to also add that to the dictionary, let's say, or I can ignore a particular selection or make that change, right? So in this case, it's going through. It's when we're done here, I think there's about 22,000 words that it's going through. RFI, in this case, I'm going to just say ignore this for right now, or ignore all. So just to show you some examples here. So I added 2 to the dictionary. I ignored a particular item. And then let's say I'll ignore this as well. There's a lot of abbreviations in here that I just I usually add them to the dictionary, but I decided in this case to remove all of those. Now here's one. It's a misspelled word. The word is schedule. But what's great is it's telling me that this is being managed from Ideate Sticky. And if you're familiar with our product called Ideate Sticky, it allows you to link in information from Excel as a schedule in Revit. So it's telling you that it's in a schedule. The word, I can change it, but the fact is that because it's linked to Sticky, if you sort of re-update it from Excel, the change is not out on the Excel file, so it might get overwritten. So it's just letting you know that. The same way, if you have text that's in a Keynote file, it's going to say, hey, this text is misspelled. I can't change it because it's in that external text file, but just so you're aware of it. So it's going to flag those things, which is really nice. So in this case, I'll just show you that I can change this and continue checking, because that's going to give a little report here at the end. So I want to go ahead and, like I said, update that schedule. And so it's going through here, and you'll notice that here in the HQ, I'll just say ignore all. I had a lot of abbreviations, I guess, that I added to the custom dictionary, that I went and cleared out the custom dictionary right before this. So ignore all. And I think that should be one of the last ones, I believe. I could be wrong. Okay, yeah, there's okay, I'll just say ignore all again, because that's quite a long one. So again, you can review this information and decide, is it something you do want to ignore or you want to add to the dictionary? And again, while this is working, I just want to say that we are supporting more languages than Revit itself. So in fact, we support all the languages for doing spell check of Revit, in addition to, I believe, about 6 additional languages. And I have those, just not off the top of my head here. So let's say, again, ignore all this. At some point, I guess I should stop this, but I just kind of wanted to make sure that I got to the end here. And I believe that this should be about completed here. And if not, if there's one more, I'll go ahead and stop it. So we're getting up here. Okay, I'm just going to go, well, that's not too bad. Oh, you know what? I'll add that to the dictionary. NW, why not? Northwest. That sounds good. And so the reason I wanted to kind of have this finish is just because it is pretty impressive, I think, the fact that we went through 22,000 elements or words, and then it did that check, pretty quickly. And again, right now we're just looking at schedules. In fact, we're on schedule 9 of 9 here, and we're coming up here to about 96, 98%. Yay! So here, 21,375 words. So it said, all right, you changed one element, which was the word schedule. We added 3 words to the custom dictionary, and we had 25 warnings, meaning words that came up that said, hey, either it's misspelled, or I don't understand, or it's an abbreviation, right? And I can save this as a report, as an Excel or a text file. I'm going to close this for right now, and I'm going to come over here to the file Revit. We're going to go to our options here, and we're going to go down to our check spelling. And you'll come over here to the custom dictionary. And sure enough, here we have maintenance, education, and Northwest, NW, that were added to our custom dictionary. So it's very tightly integrated with the dictionaries that are used within Revit. But like I said, we have additional dictionaries or spell checks on additional languages. So really nice feature there for Ideate spell check. Okay, lastly, in this part of the presentation, like I said, with these 4 initial tools, is called Ideate X-ray. And this is just an excellent tool. It allows you to understand why things are not visible in a particular view. So, this happens so often where something is not visible and you just don't understand why. So let's switch back over here. And in fact, I have a special project that I'm going to work with. So let's switch my windows over here to, I call this project hide and seek, because I've set up a number of conditions that are hidden, basically. So if I zoom up here, you'll see, hey, why isn't the furniture? Well, let's place some furniture just to show you that it's not actually displaying, right? So we're going to come over here to my families. I've got a chair, let's say a stacking chair. I'm going to click, drag, and drop that over here to the canvas. And sure enough, I get this lovely warning that I created an element, but it's not visible. And I'm like, well, okay, why? So I'm going to come over to my tools for Ideate software, and I'm going to say, you know what, let's start Ideate X-ray. And I'm looking for a chair. So it gives me this great little wizard. It says, hey, are you looking for a 3D element, a 2D element, or a grid level or view reference? A chair is a 3D element, so I'm going to say next. And then I'm going to basically select a smaller crossing box so I'm not looking at the entire model. And sure enough, there's the chair stacking. And I'm going to say next and find the element. And we go through over 50 checks on different conditions. In this case, it says, hey, it's hidden by category. So right away, I'm not even going to read the text. I'm going to come up here and go hidden by category. Oh, wait. Why is all that grayed out? Well, maybe I better go read the text. So the text says, oh, but before you do anything, it's being driven by a view template. And the template's called Ideate Plan. And I realized, oh, that is totally in error. That should not have been Ideate Plan. That should have been the architectural plan. So I'm going to click on that, apply that view template, and then my furniture should display correctly. And then I can see, oh, well, there, in fact, there's that chair that I misplaced, right? And I can go ahead and delete that. And you'll notice the reason I'm doing this is I can work in any Revit command, and the Ideate software dialog or the X-ray dialog is still available to me, right? So let's do another condition here. Let's do this one, right? And let's say I'm looking for this toilet fixture, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this again. Basically, I'm going to say try again, but I'm going to try something different, right? So in this case, I'm going to do my selection wizard. I'm looking for a 3D element, which is that toilet. So I'm going to do the select by crossing again, and I say there's a toilet somewhere here. And I don't see it right away, but I can click on the top level, the headings, right? And I can sort by category. I can sort by family name or element ID. So if I click on category, it makes it easy to see that, oh, there's that deluxe toilet I'm looking for, right? And let's go ahead and say next. And then I want to make sure that I'm looking in the right view. So I'm going to look in this view, which is check 05, and find the element. So again, it goes through its checks. And I'm like, whoa, what happened here? Not only is the work set not open, but it's hidden by category and it's hidden by element. So there are 3 conditions that are preventing this toilet from being displayed. Well, the first one, hidden by element, like you right click, hide in view, I can just go ahead and say fix, right? And say, turn that off, turn that particular parameter off, okay? It still doesn't display because it's hidden by category. Well, I can fix, or I can say show me. I love the show me because it brings up the appropriate Revit dialog. In this case, I want to come down here to plumbing fixtures, right? And I want to turn that on. So the category is on, I say okay. Still doesn't display. Well, because the work set's not open. Now I say show me. Again, it brings me the work set dialog. It says the plumbing fixtures is not open. I'm going to open that, say okay. Whoa, there it is. There's my plumbing fixture. So I had to go through 3 different elements, or methods, if you will, to understand why this was invisible. So you'll notice over here to the right, I have things set up for view filters, design options, annotation crops, model crops. Like I said, there's over 50 different ways that you can hide an element within Revit. And again, if you'd like to know a little bit more about this, we can, or there's on our website, there is specific information. I've got several videos as well as a full webinar presentation where I talk just about X-ray and visibility elements within the Revit system. So I'm going to switch back over here. And now comes the time where I'm going to put Sash on the spot. And so basically we covered the 4 initial tools of Ideate apps. And I want to see if there are specific questions, Sash, that you feel I should be talking to the entire group about.
Sure. And I can kind of let you know what how I approach the answers on this one. So there was actually a great question on the Ideate renumber. Maybe if you want to go back to renumber real quickly and just go to edit one of the rules, let's say maybe doors. And the question was, in the edit rule window for renumbering, what do the colors on the value definitions mean? And I believe the colors for the rules, when you kind of compose them, represent the different type of rule for each one of the assignments. So basically, as Richard goes here to, let's say, rooms and goes to edit, when you look at the blue and the red, it should represent the different type of part. So for example, the level prefix is a constant, so the blue would represent a constant versus, say, a field, which would be red. So we're trying to distinguish kind of the differences between the different parts of the value definition.
Right. So if I said I wanted the occupant, I'm not sure if this field is or even filled out yet, but I'm going to say OC, right? So it's blue, but then I want to add a constant, which is a dash between those. And then with this little tick mark, prompt for value, when the person runs the rule, they can then change that. Well, typically if it's a dash or an asterisk, I don't really want them changing it, so I'm not going to have them prompt for value. Then, okay, the dash is on the other side. I want to move that, so I'm just going to drag it over here. Now it's level prefix, number, dash, and occupant. And again, it looks like occupant really isn't typically or hasn't been filled out to give you kind of a preview. But that's what that particular formula would be.
Right, and the colors kind of represent the differences in the parts.
Right.
So you see the number right there is actually an increment, and so that's why we labeled it red, not to confuse people with the other rule settings, shall we say.
Right, and so again, I could have this by increment by 2. So if I say save and close, right, and say okay, and now if I'm going to, let's say just start numbering, I'm just going to pick here and here, right? And on that room, let's say I'm going to go here and let's see if there was occupancy. I can't remember if it was occupant. I think I did. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3. And that should, if I go and let's say, I think I might have to specify that again as the update since I did change that. So in this case, let's say select elements. I'm just going to keep the same thing. There it is. So that was now I'm basically renumbering that with that new information that I added there, which was 1, 2, 3 as the occupant. So that was the quick sort of customization of a particular rule and what those colors mean.
Yep. Perfect. And then let's see, we had some more questions come through. Will the X-ray feature work on linked models?
Oh, that is such a great question. It's one of those questions we get so much. Unfortunately, the answer is on the individual elements, no. It's just not available actually for the API. So when you have a linked model, you would normally tab to the element. Like in this case, let's say this was in a linked model, the sync, you tab to it. We're not able to understand or diagnose visibility issues. Now, the entire link itself, if the link was, let's say, turned off because of a work set or right-click, hide in view, the entire link, the link instance, we will be able to tell you that. But again, it's the link instance itself and not the individual elements of the link.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. And then let's see. The question of can renumber be used on sheet viewports on a sheet? And the answer is?
Yes, absolutely. So you can renumber, like I said, viewports on a sheet very easily by a path. Or in fact, I think, I'm trying to remember if I have that set up here at some point. I think I do. Let me see, drafting views. I can't remember. Anyway, I don't remember exactly where that is, but we do have an example of that on our videos of renumbering the view titles.
Awesome. And then this is a question. We got a few parts to the same question here, so I can answer this if you want me to. It's regarding using the detail lines for renumber. So a couple things is you can draw them ahead of time, which is kind of what Richard has over here. You can save them in, let's say, working views, or some people choose to hide them. And so when you want to go back and, let's say, update your renumbering, you can just, turn the reveal hidden elements on, and then, use that path to renumber along that path. Or you can go to your working views where that path exists. All it is just a detail line. And so it doesn't matter what line style you use, as long as it's a detailed line. If you try drawing model lines, renumber won't allow you to use them. And plus, it would look pretty awkward to have model lines as a path in your model, because you would see them in all your 3D views.
Right. And you saw that I was basically playing around with a line. As long as the line is connected, I use the create similar to make some. So if I say select path vertex, start numbering, I can pick the path. And so the path is going to understand where that's at, right? So it picks up the whole path here. So it's very easy, like Zash said, to just modify this line. And then if you want to have that be hidden or by a category or just hide in the view, you could do that just like any other element.
Perfect. And then real quickly, just have a couple more, and then we'll let you move on. Let's see here. Will X-ray catch the view section elevations that are hidden at scales coarser than?
Correct, it will. And I
Yep.
do have that as an example. In the video, so that there is a specific example I use of scales coarser than for that particular elevation marker as an example.
Perfect. And then the last one is, can X-ray discover why a fill pattern is not showing?
Well, there are certain things, for instance, if the fill pattern is part of a sketch or a group, that may be more difficult to ascertain. So I'd have to look at the exact instance of it, I guess, and or the where that condition is, right? And see, is it the entire sketch itself that's not displaying, or is it just the pattern on the sketch, if that makes sense? So if it's the pattern on the sketch line, well, I don't think X-ray is going to be able to determine that. But if it's the entire, let's say, floor slab or sketch region or that you've drawn, then it will be able to determine that.
Yeah, or if you're like using a filled region, let's just say you just drew a filled region somewhere, X-ray should be able to, tell you why it's not visible. And that also, we run into situations where people have hidden things with masking regions, and X-ray can also, in most situations, tell you, hey, it may be hidden by a masking region, which is kind of fascinating.
Right. We actually do. On our website, we have a visibility hall of fame for the very few conditions where X-ray cannot figure it out. And one of those conditions is white on white. So if I were to, let's say, make this wall white as the outline, basically, X-ray thinks it's still there. It's just that we can't see it because it's a white on a white background. So those types of things is what someone discovered that, and we put that under our visibility hall of fame.
Yes, because people actually do change the color to match the background.
All right, Sash. Well, I think I better continue on, or otherwise we won't have enough time for the sheets and views, and then we'll answer some more questions at the end. So the last sort of piece of IdeateApps, but it's a very important section, is the sheets and views. So we allow you to create new sheets, be able to, with our sheet manager, allow you to drag views from the left to the right to populate those sheets, but we can also clone or copy a sheet, as well as align, keep the viewports aligned based on the X and Y parameters or coordinates, as well as, like I said, copy or clone a sheet. So Revit does not allow you to do this, but we are allowing you to copy the sheet and then decide, well, do you want to copy the viewports on the sheet, or do you want to swap them with a different type of viewport? And then in addition, you can also create new views, very similar with rules, and those rules are similar to the renumber rules, where you can build a formula for particular properties. And you'll see there on the screen on the right there, I can apply like a view template or a phase filter or a scope box as I'm creating the view itself. So it's very easy to create a whole series of views with the proper parameters that you need. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to switch over here, and I am going to open up a project here just to clean this up a little bit. And this one here, I'll call Sheet Manager. And it's basically the same project, but it's got some, like I said, some settings here that just allow it to be a little bit cleaner and sort of set up for this view creation. So in a second here, this is going to load. So we have our Z.7 finishes, right? And I've got a plan, I've got some schedules here and so forth. So let's say that I wanted to then go to Ideate Software and go to my Sheet Manager. And I'm going to select the Sheet Manager here. And you'll see that when that starts, I have all of the views on the left and all the sheets on the right. And right now I have 130 unplaced views. If I want to show all the views, I can untick this, and it shows all 417 views. So it's kind of nice that I can just really easily see which views have been placed. I'm going to create a new sheet here, And we'll just use the title block for IdeateApps with our same sort of configuration here. So right from here, I can specify, and then I can right click and say rename. So I'm going to rename this, and we're going to give this, let's say Z.1, just so we can see it a little bit easier. And I'm going to call it coordination sheet. And so now, because that's up in my list, you're going to see it sort of pop up here, right? Z.1 coordination. Well, as I said, you're going to use the views to the left. So I've got a number of floor plan views. I've got a first floor west coordination floor plan. I'm going to click, drag, and drop it over to Z.1. And then I also may want to place, for instance, a schedule or a legend on that sheet as well. So again, I'm going to come down here to my schedules, and I've got a room type schedule. I'm going to click, drag, and drop that over to Z.1. And if I expand on this Z.1, you can see there's my floor plan that I just placed. There's my schedule. And if I look at the first sheet, I'm going to zoom up here. There's this signage elevation. I want the signage elevation transferred from Z.1 to from Z.7 to Z.1. So what I'm going to do here is take that signage elevation, click, drag, and drop it from the Z.7 sheet over to Z.1. So you're going to see here, it removes it, and then it places it here. Now, it doesn't exactly know maybe where to place that initially, so what I'm going to do is move the floor plan where I so desire it, and then you'll see that the elevation and the schedule are up here at the top. So I can place the elevation, and then I can place the schedule where I want as well. So let's go ahead and place that in the lower left-hand corner here. And then I'll move this one over just a little bit. So now I've got this sheet, right? And this is Z.1, and I've organized it the way that I want. Now, as I mentioned to you, just to show you, if I come over here to the sheets, let's come down to Z.1 coordination, right click, say duplicate, and it's not available. Revit does not allow you to duplicate or duplicate with detailing or anything. So we've solved that problem with our clone tool. So I'm going to click on the coordination, and I'm going to say clone this sheet. So the first thing it says is, well, what do you want to call it? You know, Z.2 makes sense. In this case, it's going to be our structural. And then it allows me to understand the viewports. So right now we have the first floor west coordination. I would like to swap that with the first floor west structural. So I'm going to say replace this viewport on the existing sheet with a new viewport on the new sheet. The signage, I'd like to have a building elevation here that's structural. So I'm going to come down over here to my elevation, and I've got west elevation for structure. And then schedules can appear on multiple sheets. So I can leave that the current, but because this is a structural sheet, I have a compressive strength column schedule that came in from Excel using Ideate Sticky. So I'm going to replace that. So basically here I'm using the same information of my title block, and I'm now swapping these particular views. And you notice when I'm copying views, I have naming rules that I can specify to make that much easier. But I'm just going to go ahead and say clone, which will then copy the sheet and all the viewports in this this particular manner, right? So now it's got it's looking at Z.1. It's going ahead and making sure that all those are up to date. You can see there in the background. So now we have our Z.2 structure, and there, oops, we got our dialog open. Let's say close. And now we have our Z.2 structure. So there was the, let me see the original, or actually it was Z.1. And let's go over here. And let's see there, okay, there was the Z.1 coordination, right? And then there was the Z.7 that we just created. That was the finishes. So, oops, they're not 7, I'm sorry. Z.2. That was the new one. So there we have, and basically what it did is it kept in the plan, the same X and Y coordinate of the previous plan. It kept, when it came to alignment for the schedules, it's based on the upper left crop region of schedules, of elevations, of details. So in this case, it did the upper left crop region of this particular item. So I can very easily copy or clone sheets, and I'll make sure that the view alignment is correct as well. And then I can also, for instance, if I come over here to, let's say my coordination plan, that was my original one, right? And if I look at this and I say, well, maybe I want that schedule, you know, I can actually click on the schedule here and say that I want to copy the legends and schedules. And then I can come over here to that one that I created, which was Z.2. And I'm going to come over and just say paste the legends and schedules. Now, it's going to paste obviously on top of that. So let's come over here to Z.2, right? And so maybe now I want to move it over here. So I can cut and paste legends and schedules very easily, again, using all of these sheet items as well. And then if a view, for instance, doesn't have a particular, like in this case, let's say this coordinate, or let's say the top of footing doesn't have a sheet, I can actually create a sheet based on the view name. So it's going to say, well, pick a starting view, in this case, structural. Maybe I want the room type schedule and the compressive strength. I want those two together. And I want to go ahead and say create. And then it's going to place that view on the sheet, create the sheet, and have the schedules as well. So that's another nice feature, to be able to create sheets, again, based on the information that you may already have. So again, it's going there in the background and creating that particular sheet with those schedules. So I'm going to say, go ahead, Z.3, that's fine. So let's make sure that that is selected. So let's see, let's come down over here. And if I double click, that should open that particular sheet. So there we have the sheet, right? And it has the two schedules that I specified, as well as the plan that I wanted as well. Now, the last thing I want to show you is being able to create new views with our view creator. So let's say we needed some new views for this project for a different phase, as an example, or a different design option, right? So I can come over here and select on our view creator, and I can pick on those views, those ceiling plans, and I have a couple different methods here. I can say plans to levels and actually pick if there are no, let's say, plans for a specific level. I can choose that. I can apply dependents. But in this case, I'm going to duplicate the views, say select the views, and I'm going to choose those ceiling plans. So I've got all 4 of the ceiling plans, let's say, that I want to have in a different phase with an office renovation as an example. So I'm going to say next, and I have a rule for phase that I've created. And so that rule allows the user to interact with the phase and the phase filter. So I can apply a new phase for office renovation and a new filter for show previous and new. And then I can give it a prefix like RT, and then I can give it a suffix, and I can call it -office. All right, so that's all well and good, but maybe instead of having the user interact with the suffix, maybe I want the rule to be able to pull that directly from Revit based on the phase. And so just like you saw with the renumber rules, I can edit this, and instead of having this demo suffix, I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to then add a field from the database, and we're going to go down and say the field is actually phase name, right? So let's come down here to phase name, say OK. And I'm going to add a constant, just like you saw me do before, dash, and then put in between the name and the phase name, right? So we've got the prefix, the name, and the phase name. And you notice I can assign other items over here as well. I still have the phase and phase filter, but I could do view templates. I could do, the type parameters. But in this case, I'll just leave that as phase and phase filter. Save and close. Now I've updated my rule. Notice that if I select the phase to be new construction, the name automatically changes over here to new construction. If I change it to office renovation, the name automatically changes to office renovation. So I didn't need to have that suffix anymore. I can still do the prefix if I wanted to say that this view starts with RT, my initials, and then I can say create 4 views and say done. And now when I go up into the project browser, you'll notice that all of these now, like if I say, here's the coordination plan, office renovation, and it has the view properties set. So if I select on, let's say, oh, it's the sheet, the ceiling plan, you'll notice that it says show previous and new, and the phase is set to office renovation. So it has all of those properties set the way that I needed when I used that view creator. So again, the sheet manager, the align, the clone, and the view creator are very powerful tools within Ideate software. So I know Sash had to drop off, so I'm going to see if there are any questions. So there's a question by Tony, can drafting views be copied between projects? And Revit does have that ability to copy a drafting or a detail view from one project to another, but our tools are not really adding to that at the moment, but there is a Revit command that will allow you to do that. And I think most of the other questions have been answered. So in wrapping up here, since it's almost the bottom of the hour, I just wanted to, again, review our website for resources that we have both in product and online help, those built-in getting started guides, and again, that we're developing, and we have versions for 2018, 19, 20, and 21 of Revit. That is most of the questions. And again, we're right at the bottom of the hour. So I just want to thank you so much for your time and attention today. Very much appreciate your interest in Ideate software. And I think that you will find, if you are not a current customer of IdeateApps, you will find these tools to be very valuable for many Revit workflows. So again, I appreciate your time. I hope everyone has an excellent day. So thank you so much.